This is East Carolina All-American Bryant Packard, and we're talking Pirate Baseball on the Sports Objective, the unofficial podcast of the Pirates.
Well, I know that we're recording this interview. It's kind of like a hot stove league kind of interview today as it's cold outside, but we're very excited to have with us now head baseball coach of the East Carolina Pirates, and that would be Cliff Godwin. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
No doubt, Coach. We obviously wanted to have you on. Busy. I don't even know if there really is an off season anymore, but we want to get a chance to talk about, first off, the 2021 campaign, put a bow on it, and get your thoughts. We hadn't had you on since the season ended, so we want to give you a thumbnail schedule on what your thoughts were of the season.
I thought our guys and our staff did a tremendous job last year. You know, people forget just going through fall practice in 2020 with all the COVID stuff going on, and then starting the season with no fans, and then having to play a conference schedule that had 4 9-inning games in 3 days, no midweek games. And for our guys to stay consistent through the year and our staff to be able to manage all that stuff, I mean, looking back on it, it's one of the biggest feats that's ever happened at East Carolina University, in my opinion, because it was a grind, man, especially those four-game weekends in 3 days. Once we got about halfway, it takes the staff and the players about 2 days to kind of get our feet back underneath us, practice a couple days, and you're right back into it. And for us to be able to host a regional again for 3 straight years, I think we're one of 3 teams that have done that in the country. And to have Clark LeClaire, the Jungle, packed for the regional, that regional environment was the loudest I think it's ever been at Clark LeClaire since I've been here. It was just a great atmosphere, and our guys performed well. And, of course, we go to Vanderbilt, and our guys competed and went toe-to-toe with the second-place team in the country. And we got to figure out a way how we can host a super regional here in Greenville, North Carolina. That's going to be the ticket for us to knock that door down and play in the College World Series.
Coach, you had a couple of staff changes. If you would talk about Austin Knight taking over for Jason Dietrich. Awesome opportunity for Coach Dietrich moving on to Cal State Fullerton as their head coach, and then Austin Knight sliding over to that role. He'd worked very closely with Coach Dietrich anyway. So talk about that transition.
Well, Austin, I've known Austin for a long time. You know, he was a catcher at Ole Miss for the 3 years that I was there. So his freshman, sophomore, junior year, he probably spent more time with me than he wanted to because I was his catching coach, I was his hitting coach, I was his academic coach. But I knew he wanted to get into coaching one day, and I've kind of just followed his career. And then when we had the opportunity to bring him here a few years ago, he's just a great baseball guy. He's a great human being. But he told me, he goes, one day I want to be a pitching coach. And so we started letting him be around the pitchers and helping Coach Dietrich. And normally you have about 20 guys on the staff, so it really was a plus for all of us that he wanted to do that. And he would stand next to Coach Dietrich during the game, and then I would stand on the other side, and they would collaborate on pitch calling. And Coach Dietrich was a great mentor. But you know, people have asked, you know, why did I choose Austin Knight? Well, I chose Austin Knight because he's going to be one of the best pitching coaches in the country. And, yes, he might not have some of the experience that other guys, and we had a ton of interest in the job with where our program is right now, and could have got some head coaches that wanted to just be our pitching coach at East Carolina. But I knew from day one who I was going to hire, and that was Austin Knight.
In addition to Coach Knight, there's obviously another staff change. Coach Macias, David Macias, coming over from Vanderbilt.
Yes, Coach Macias actually was a freshman at Vanderbilt when I was the director of baseball operations, and same sort of thing. Have watched his career, and probably a blessing in disguise that he was on the Vanderbilt staff in the Super Regional. Got to spend some time with him there and talking with Eric Backage about him and what type of coach he is. And he's been at the professional level as a player, as a coach. He's been a strength coach in college. He's been an assistant coach at one of the best programs in the country. And we're really blessed to be able to bring him from a program like Vanderbilt into our program. And our guys love him. He's super knowledgeable. He'll be in charge of the catchers. He's already made our catchers a lot better. He also works with our outfielders. He also helps me and Jeff with the hitters and just team defense and everything. And he's brought a lot of good ideas to our program already, and he's a great person, and we're super excited about him and Pam, his wife, and they have 3 kids, all under the age of 3, so that's been interesting. But he loves Greenville already, and it's just been a great addition to our staff.
Coach, before we start to dive in a little bit about the roster for this season, I wanted to obviously brag about you and your support staff and coaches about off the field with volunteering, but specifically about academics. We always like to talk about that with you, and I want to give you the floor, a chance to brag about the team. Once again, an unbelievable GPA considering all that you guys have to go through.
Well, people forget, and even sometimes me, I forget, but when we took the job, and Jeff and I are the only 2 from day one that have been here at East Carolina back in the summer of 2014. Well, at that point in time, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say it, but ECU baseball on record, it had only been tracked for the previous 7 years, had never made a 3.0 team GPA. So me being a former guy that the parents made do really well in school, 2-time academic All-American at East Carolina. I tell people the only way I could be an All-American was to add the academic piece into it. But that was our first goal, and that first semester we got a 3.05, and you would have thought we won the College World Series is how happy we were as a staff. And now you fast forward to today, and with the guys that we're bringing in and the support staff and Rebecca Wade putting a huge emphasis on it, we've gone 4 straight years. So that's 8 straight semesters of having a 3.41 team GPA or higher. And once again, this semester will be 4.5 years because the final grades haven't come in, but our guys are in exams right now, and they've done a really good job. And it means a lot to me because at some point in time, baseball is going to be over. Some of them are going to have the opportunity to play professional baseball. For how long, who knows? But we got to make sure that they have a great education so they can set themselves up and their families for the rest of their life.
Coach, if you would tell us about this fall, how did things go? Which returners, made some nice strides? What newcomers impressed you? And you also had the opportunity, one of the great things of being located where we're located, so many great teams within a 3-4 hour radius, and you were able to get some work in against Liberty and UVA.
This fall has been pretty challenging. It might be the most challenging fall for me personally. And, it started with the passing of Nico Agnos, a guy that's been such a great person of our program with Jake and Zach. And, a lot of times you get to know parents, their kid comes in. Well, I've known the Agnoses for probably over 8 years, and just having to navigate that. And, of course, Zach dealing with it. But it hurt me too because I was close to Nico. And then as soon as we kind of got through the celebration of life and stuff, I got COVID and having to navigate through that. And we're right at the beginning of fall practice. But I thought our guys, and especially Zach Agnos, did a really good job of just showing up every day. And that's all you can ask is just showing up every day and trying to get better. And we definitely have an opportunity to be pretty good in the spring. And I tell people all the time that on paper we're pretty good. But guess what that gets you? That gets you nothing. So you got to go out there and do it in the spring and stay humble and stay hungry.
Coach, I know you had the Purple Gold World Series, a chance for the kind of inter-squad scrimmage, but can you talk about that? And also, we'll start off as far as the roster. Really happy to see that you're pretty deep, it looks like, with pitching.
Yes, the Purple Gold World Series, we always finish the fall with that. And you mentioned earlier about us playing Liberty. Liberty's really good. They've got really good arms, and we tied the first 7-inning game, had a 5-3 lead going into the top of the 7th, and gave that up, tied the first game, then we won the second game. UVA, we lost game 1 in 7 innings, 12-6, and then won, I think, 6-1 in game 2. And just getting especially some new faces out there is always a good thing, and especially on the mound. Our pitching depth, especially the freshman class, in my opinion, it's the most talent that we've had in any freshman class. But they're still freshmen. They're still working through some things, and we got to get them in the strike zone a little bit more. But I thought Coach Knight and those freshmen and other guys make tremendous strides within our program this fall, and just looking forward to them when they get back in the spring and to continue to see their development.
some of those proven commodities on the mound, Coach, obviously, guys, lefties like Wisenhunt and Cooch Maynor. Talk about Cooch. I heard some great things and was unable to make it out to any of the Purple Gold World Series or those games against Liberty or UVA, but talk about Cooch. I heard he was more like the old Cooch this fall.
Coach Knight and him worked a ton and watched old video from 2 years ago, and they did some mechanical tweaks to kind of get him back right. His stuff's way better. He's throwing the ball harder, which can only help him. His stuff is, like I said, just better, just sharper. Breaking ball's better. Changeup's good. Thought he tried to overthrow early in the fall, and he was just kind of getting used to the extra velocity. The last two outings against UVA and the Purple Gold World Series, he pitched really good, was outstanding. And if he can sustain that, then we're going to be in good shape. Wisenhunt did not pitch in the fall from the workload that he had in the spring and then also being with Team USA. So he has been playing catch since November and is starting to get off the mound right now. So he'll actually be in front of the other guys that pitch this fall because they have to shut down, and they just are getting ready to start picking up a baseball this week.
Coach, can you talk about, obviously, with the infielders, one of the great things that you've created at East Carolina, I think, with recruiting is with the competition. Competition's a great thing. Can you talk about your infielders coming back?
Well, rents due every day if you want to be in a quality program. And,
right.
We played Ryder at short and Zach Agnos at short this fall on opposite teams most of the time. Zach also played some third base. Makaravich spent most of his time at second this fall just trying to get him a feel of that position. I think that he will be better at third base just because he's played there more. Jacob Starling was actually injured this fall. He's about 95% healthy right now, but he'll be an option at second. Joey Barini will be an option at second. C.J. Boyd's a utility infielder, second, first, outfield. He had a really good fall swinging the bat. Ryder was tremendous at shortstop. We worked on his swing a little bit as he seems to be hitting the ball and having more quality at bats, the best of his career. And Zach had a really good fall, especially considering the circumstances with his dad. So we have some depth there. Josh Mullen at first base and some others. So it'll be interesting. Be tougher on the coaching staff to figure out who's going to be on the field at any given time.
In the outfield, you have proven commodities like Bryson Worrell. So if you would touch on those guys, and then also talk about the return of Skylar Brooks. He unfortunately sustained an injury, and how's he progressing?
Well, let's start with Bryson. Bryson, and I don't know how many people know this, but the last game of the conference tournament in the first inning, he went up against the wall, made a great catch, and just had a really bad sprain of his left AC joint in his shoulder. He didn't take BP for 2 weeks, so played in the regional, didn't take BP, finally took BP, like a very brief, abbreviated version at Vandy in game one. He wasn't healthy. I would say he's 50%. He was 50% healthy going down the stretch, and it actually took him most of the summer just to kind of get his shoulder back healthy. So he started out a little bit slow, but I'm expecting big things from him, a guy that's played a ton of baseball. Riley Johnson had a tremendous fall. Him and Bryson, one of those two guys will play center field, and if they're not playing center, they'll play right. Carter Cunningham, a junior college transfer, had a tremendous fall. He still needs to continue to work on his defense a little bit, but left-handed hitter, can hit the ball at the park, can run. So excited about him. And then Lane Hoover. So Hoove is the, ultimate worker, voted by his teammates the hardest working position player on the team, and also voted by his teammates to be the best teammate, which means that dude does everything he can to help the team get better every single day. So definitely have some depth out there, and there's some other guys that could, A-Mac can go out to the outfield, and C.J. Boyd as well.
Coach, I wanted to mention one thing before we go. I know Bubba has another question, too. Appreciate you carving out some time for us. I know you've got a speaking engagement today. Wanted to ask you as far as make sure we can plug the baseball banquet. Every year it gets bigger and bigger, and we want to make sure that we raise a lot of money for you.
Well, February 5th is the date, and I can tell you this, there's been more interest this year than there's ever been. So if you want to get a ticket, I would definitely do it before Christmas because we only have about 600 spots in the Student Center, and that's including our team, our support staff, and some of the support staff family members. So it's a hot ticket. Clayton McCullough's coming back, first base coach for the Dodgers. One of my best friends, former teammate, Connor Norby, and him are both going to speak, and you also hear from a couple of our older players. It's a great night, and we're so fortunate we're going to be able to have it face-to-face again.
Here recently, Coach, the 2022 schedule was released, so if you would, touch on that. One of the things that stood out to me were some new faces. We had, of course, played Bryant in the regional up at UVA, but you had a 3-game series with those guys, and then also St. Mary's and Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Coach Palumbo and I work hard to try to get the schedule put together, and people don't understand it's years in advance. It's not. You're not doing it right now. It's years in advance, just like recruiting. And, I really appreciate Scott Forbes. He's agreed to, as long as we're the head coaches at our respective institutions, that the second weekend we're going to play a 3-game series. And this year we're playing 2 in Chapel Hill, 1 in Greenville. Next year we'll play 2 in Greenville, 1 in Chapel Hill, and we'll keep rotating it. We got NC State back on the schedule for home and home. Coach Avent has been great the past few years to get that scheduled. UNC Wilmington, home and home. Campbell, home and home. Duke, home and home. And it's a tough schedule. And then you got the American Conference in there as well. So we'll have to show up every day or we won't get where we want to go.
Coach, one final question before we let you go. Obviously, this is very important to me. I know it is to you. I always say on our show, give the man what he wants. Can we talk one more time? I want to see a massive capital campaign next year. One of the things, the pieces of that is for baseball. And can you talk again about, number one, about the things you want for, I know, former players, like a locker room, that sort of thing, and also how we can get the job done to raise the money for you to have that happen?
Well, it's unfortunate for everybody that COVID hit. Everybody got affected, and pay cuts, furloughs, all that stuff. But right before COVID hit, John Gilbert and I were set to go out and fundraise and try to raise this money for the facility expansion. And it's really for the players. I got 2 coaches. They share offices. One coach is in the coach's locker room. Our team room's too small. Our locker room. And those things underneath are really outdated. They haven't been changed since the stadium was built in 2005. And we're just going to expand down the third base line. And when we do that, it'll be an opportunity for some premium seating be above the baseball offices that will slide down the third base line. And just another great place to view or increase our stadium capacity, which is always a good thing for when we can host regionals. So we're definitely working on that. And we would love to have somebody come donate us whatever they got. And you can always donate to ECU Baseball specifically through the Pirate Club if you just put ECU Baseball only in the memo section.
All right, Coach, we'll let you run. I appreciate your time. If we don't talk to you, I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and, of course, we'll have you back on to preview the 2022 campaign.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for always being great to work with, and Merry Christmas.
Hey, Pirate Nation, this is former East Carolina pitcher Davey Penny of the Keith LeClaire era, class of 2003. Keep it tuned to the Sports Objective as you follow our Diamond Bucks on the road to Omaha, because y'all know we're going.